The biggest mistake men over 60 make today is not losing their savings, not losing their health, not even ending up alone. It's allowing the wrong person into their life and quietly losing the one thing they spent decades earning, their peace. That might sound harsh. Some people will disagree immediately. But stay with me until number 5, because that one is the reason most men never see it coming until it's already too late. Reason number 1, your emotional energy is no longer free. When you were 35, emotional labor had a cost, but you could absorb it. You had the energy to manage misunderstandings, to navigate emotional ups and downs, to have the same conversation for the 3rd time and still show up the next morning without resentment. After 60, something changes. Not because you've become cold or difficult, because you've lived enough to understand that energy is a resource, and resources have limits. You've spent decades working, raising a family, carrying responsibilities that most people never see, solving problems that never made the news but cost you sleep for years. By now, you've earned something, not just financially, emotionally. You've earned the right to a life that doesn't constantly demand more from you than it gives back. And here's what nobody tells you about relationships after 60. What begins as companionship almost always becomes emotional responsibility. Slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. First, it's a conversation. Then it's an expectation. Then it's a pattern you didn't choose, but somehow became responsible for maintaining. You find yourself managing feelings that aren't yours, resolving conflicts you didn't create, offering reassurance on a schedule that never quite gets easier. And the man who wanted peace ends up spending his mornings carefully choosing his words to avoid a tension he doesn't fully understand. Here's the truth most men only learn after the fact. When you reach the point where protecting someone else's emotions is costing you your own, companionship has become something else entirely. It's become exhaustion, and exhaustion doesn't arrive alone. Reason number 2, financial vulnerability after 60 is real and mostly invisible. This is not about being unwilling to share. This is not about being selfish or suspicious. This is about understanding that money means something completely different after 60 than it did at 40. At 40, a financial mistake is painful, but it's recoverable. You have time. You have earning years ahead of you. You can adjust, rebuild, start over. After 60, the equation is different. Your retirement income is often fixed. Your savings have a specific purpose: your health, your independence, your future security. Every dollar is doing a job, and that job is protecting the life you built. Here's what most men don't realize. Financial pressure in relationships almost never arrives all at once. It begins with small things: a dinner, a weekend away, a gift that felt right in the moment, helping during a difficult time because it seemed like the decent thing to do. None of these feel significant individually. That's exactly what makes them dangerous. Because over time, those small gestures become expectations. Those expectations become obligations, and those obligations become a rhythm you never consciously agreed to, but feel responsible for maintaining. Some men begin spending money not because they want to, but because they're afraid of what stopping will cost them. They use money to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to hold on to companionship they've become dependent on. And here's the painful part. When a relationship ends, the emotional pain eventually fades. Financial consequences often don't. The wiser men over 60 understand something early. Protect your financial independence the way you protect your health. Because after a certain age, losing one makes it very hard to recover the other. Reason number 3, the freedom you finally have is worth more than you think. Before a relationship enters your life, your schedule belongs entirely to you. You wake up when you want. You eat what you want. You spend your afternoons exactly how you choose, without explanation, without negotiation, without apology. If you want to spend an entire day fishing, reading the same book for the 3rd time, sitting in a garden doing absolutely nothing, nobody questions it. That freedom may seem ordinary from the outside, but after 60, after decades of answering to employers, obligations, children, and responsibilities, that ordinary freedom becomes one of the most extraordinary things you own. And here's what relationships quietly ask for: time, plans, coordination, consideration, all of which sound completely reasonable. All of which are completely reasonable. But what most men underestimate is how much energy that reasonableness requires after a lifetime of giving it to everyone else. The irony is this: many men enter relationships after 60 searching for more happiness, and many of them discover, months or years later, that what they miss most is the life they had before. Freedom is not selfishness. Freedom is the ability to live according to your own rhythm. And when that rhythm is constantly interrupted, when your mornings belong to someone else's mood, when your weekends require negotiation, when your decisions must always account for another set of preferences, something quietly shifts. The man who finally had room to breathe starts to feel like he's running out of air again. Reason number 4. Attention is not the same as respect. This is one of the most dangerous traps a man over 60 can fall into. And it's dangerous specifically because it feels so good at first. A woman shows interest in you. She calls regularly. She makes you feel wanted. She notices you in a way that perhaps you haven't felt noticed in a very long time. After retirement, after divorce, after years of feeling overlooked, that attention can feel like oxygen. It reminds you that you're still visible, still desired, still capable of mattering to someone. But here's what experience eventually teaches. Attention and respect are not the same thing. Attention is easy to give. It costs nothing. It can disappear the moment circumstances change. Respect is harder. Respect looks at your time and honors it. Respect looks at your boundaries and doesn't test them. Respect looks at the life you've built and adds to it, rather than quietly rearranging it. Many older men become so grateful for attention that they stop asking whether they're receiving respect. They focus on how the relationship feels in the moment and stop noticing what it's costing them over time. So they tolerate behavior they would have walked away from at 40. They ignore red flags because the warmth feels worth the warning signs. They make excuses because the alternative is facing a silence they're not sure they're ready for. This is how dependency forms. And dependency, at any age, in any form, is a quiet emergency. Reason number 5, and this is the one nobody talks about. The wrong relationship doesn't just cost you peace, it costs you yourself. This is the reason I told you to stay for. Not the money, not the freedom, not even the exhaustion. This one. Here's what happens inside the wrong relationship. So slowly that most men never see it until it's already done. You start adjusting. Small things at first. A routine here, a habit there, a preference you set aside because it wasn't worth the tension. And that seems fine. That seems normal. That seems like what people do. But then the adjustments keep coming. You stop mentioning certain things because experience has taught you where that leads. You stop spending time on certain activities because they create a friction you don't have the energy to explain. You start filtering yourself, not consciously, not dramatically, just quietly, consistently, until one day you sit with yourself and realize the man sitting there doesn't quite feel like you anymore. The interests have faded. The routines have changed. The opinions you used to hold with certainty now come with a disclaimer. You've become easier to manage, more agreeable, less recognizable to yourself. And the saddest part, the part that makes this reason number 5, is that most men mistake this loss for love. They tell themselves, this is what relationships require. This is what it means to care about someone. This is just how it works. But it isn't. Real companionship doesn't ask you to become smaller. Real companionship supports who you already are. The right person doesn't require you to edit yourself into someone easier to be around. The right person makes you feel more like yourself, not less. And if the person in your life is slowly costing you the man you spent 60 years becoming, that is not a relationship. That is a slow subtraction. Reason number 6. Loneliness is not the problem you think it is. Many men enter relationships after 60 because they're lonely. And loneliness is real. It's painful. It deserves to be taken seriously. But here's what loneliness often disguises. It's not always a relationship you need. Sometimes it's purpose. Sometimes it's connection, but not romantic connection. Sometimes it's the structure that retirement quietly removed without anyone warning you it would.
A relationship can distract you from loneliness. It cannot solve it. Because if the loneliness comes from inside, from a life that has lost its direction, from days that feel empty, from a sense that your best chapters are behind you, bringing another person into that emptiness doesn't fill it. It just gives the emptiness someone to blame. The men who live most fully after 60 are not the men who found the right partner. They're the men who built a life they genuinely wanted to wake up to, and then, if someone right came along, invited them into something already worth having. That order matters more than most people realize. Reason number 7. Your health and your peace are the same thing. This one doesn't get discussed enough. When you're younger, stress is something you push through. You deal with it, sleep badly for a few nights, and keep moving. The body absorbs it. Recovery comes quickly. The consequences are easy to ignore. After 60, the body keeps different records. A sleepless night costs more. Ongoing tension lingers longer. Chronic emotional pressure shows up in places you can't ignore. Blood pressure, sleep quality, energy levels, the way you feel when you wake up on a Tuesday morning with nothing specifically wrong but something quietly heavy. The research is clear on this. Chronic relationship stress is one of the most significant contributors to declining health in older adults. Not dramatic stress, not obvious conflict, the quiet, low-grade kind. The kind that comes from living alongside someone whose emotional weather you're always monitoring. Many men spend years working on their physical health, exercising, eating carefully, attending appointments, making every responsible choice, and then spend their evenings in a relationship that slowly undoes everything the morning tried to build. At this stage of life, protecting your peace is not a lifestyle preference. It is a medical decision. Reason number 8, the right question changes everything. Most men ask the wrong question when they think about relationships after 60. They ask, do I like her? Am I attracted to her? Is the companionship worth it? The wiser men ask different questions entirely. How do I feel after spending time with her? Is my life better or more complicated because of this relationship? Does she add to the life I've built, or quietly rearrange it? Those questions sound simple, but they cut through everything that loneliness and attention and habit tend to cloud. Because the goal after 60 is not to find someone who makes life feel exciting. The goal is to find someone who makes life feel like yours. Someone whose presence adds warmth without adding weight. Someone who respects your time as much as they enjoy your company. Someone who makes you feel more settled in who you are, not less. That person exists, but you will only find them when you stop accepting less out of fear of finding nothing. Here's what all 8 reasons come down to. After 60, you are not looking for someone to complete your life. You are looking to protect the life you've already built. And that means being honest. More honest than loneliness usually allows, about what a relationship is actually costing you. Not just in money, not just in time, in peace, in identity, in health, in the quiet, unglamorous freedom to be exactly who you are without apology or explanation. The wrong relationship takes all of that, slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. The right relationship adds to it. The difference between the two is something only you can feel, but only if you're honest enough to stop mistaking attention for respect, companionship for peace, and tolerance for love. One question for you. Looking at your life right now, does the relationship you're in or considering bring you peace or pressure? Drop one word in the comments. And if you want to understand what a relationship that actually adds to your life looks like, watch this next. What women over 60 actually want in a man. Most men get this completely wrong. Because knowing what to avoid is step 1. Knowing what to build toward is step 2. See you there.